At 02:14 a.m., the constellation dies. 63 military satellites destroyed in 3 hours. Anti-satellite missiles climb from mobile launchers. Kinetic kill vehicles smash orbital infrastructure at 17,000 miles per hour. Space debris multiplies exponentially. GPS signals vanish. Communication networks fragment. Reconnaissance feeds go black. Both militaries suddenly fight blind. This is combat power where technology vanishes and warfare reverts. The modern military depends on satellites for everything. Positioning accurate to 3 meters, secure communications across continents, real-time surveillance of battlefields, precision weapon guidance, drone control links, early warning systems, weather forecasting, and synchronized timing for network operations. Remove satellites and 21st century armies become 1980s forces, except weapons already launched still fly toward targets. Troop movements already initiated continue blindly. Combat systems designed for networked warfare must function independently. The doctrine never prepared for this. At 02:47 a.m., ground forces realize isolation. Tank battalion advancing across desert loses GPS lock. Commanders switch to inertial navigation systems. Accuracy degrades 1% per hour of movement. After 12 hours, position uncertainty exceeds 2 miles. Maps from 2019 show roads that no longer exist. Terrain features identified by satellite imagery, now unrecognizable from ground level. Radio communication works, but without satellite relay becomes line of sight only at maximum ranges of 30 kilometers across flat terrain and less in mountains, cities, or forests, where signal propagation faces physical obstacles blocking direct transmission paths. Battalion requests artillery support. Fire Direction Center cannot confirm friendly positions. Danger close calculations impossible without precise coordinates. Request denied. The battalion fights alone. Which force breaks first? A. Artillery coordination. B. Air support network. C. Supply chain logistics. At 03:15 a.m., air operations collapse. Fighter squadrons scramble to intercept enemy bombers. Without satellite navigation, pilots fly using inertial reference systems and ground-based radio beacons when available. Target coordinates transmitted via encrypted radio. Grid reference from paper maps. Visual identification required before engagement. Rules of engagement tighten. Friendly fire risk escalates. Enemy bombers equipped with terrain-following radar navigate successfully without satellites. Fighters using older navigation technology actually gain advantage over forces dependent on GPS. Doctrine reverses overnight. The high-tech side suddenly envies low-tech resilience. At 03:42 a.m., drone warfare ends. 16,000 combat drones active globally when satellites died. Control links severed simultaneously. Autonomous return to base protocols activate. Drones navigate home using terrain recognition and inertial systems. 73% successfully recover. 27% lost to navigation failure, fuel exhaustion, or enemy action during vulnerable return flight. Operators watch screens go dark. Years of remote warfare capability eliminated in minutes. Ground forces lose overhead reconnaissance. Artillery loses targeting data. Close air support becomes traditional manned aircraft only. The battlefield shrinks. What happens next changes everything. At 04:30 a.m., naval forces adapt fastest. Warships designed for independent operation. Inertial navigation systems military grade. Accuracy degradation 0.01% per day. Ship knows position within 100 meters after 24 hours without GPS. Celestial navigation training suddenly relevant. Officers trained in sextant use become valuable. Star sites provide position fixes accurate to 1 nautical mile. Acceptable for naval warfare. Surface action groups operate effectively. Submarines benefit most. Enemy lost ability to track undersea movements via satellite surveillance, while submarine inertial navigation remains highly accurate for weeks. Without external updates, the underwater domain becomes sanctuary. At 05:18 a.m., precision strike capability degrades. Cruise missiles launched before satellite loss continue toward programmed targets using terrain-matching guidance and internal maps. Accuracy, 10 meters. Missiles launched after satellite loss must rely entirely on inertial guidance. Accuracy, 200 meters against fixed targets, completely ineffective against mobile targets without external updates during flight. Ballistic missiles unaffected. Inertial guidance sufficient for strategic weapons where 200-meter error acceptable. Tactical precision weapons suddenly obsolete. The battlefield accepts collateral damage again. At 06:45 a.m., command and control fragments. Theater commanders lose real-time picture of battlefield. Updates arrive via radio reports delayed by minutes or hours as information passes through multiple relay stations and communication nodes operating on high-frequency radio bands vulnerable to atmospheric conditions, enemy jamming and physical distance limitations, decisions made on outdated intelligence. Coordination between services breaks down. Army doesn't know where Navy operates. Air Force cannot deconflict with Army helicopters. Friendly fire incidents increase 43% within first 12 hours. Combat power watches chaos multiply. At 08:30 a.m., enemy exploitation begins. Side that killed satellites prepared for blindness. Forces trained for non-GPS warfare. Equipment ruggedized for independent operation. Doctrine emphasizes decentralized command. Attacking forces push forward knowing defender cannot coordinate response effectively. Mechanized columns advance using magnetic compasses and paper maps. Artillery fires using traditional survey methods and flash-to-bang ranging. Forward observers call corrections via radio. Add 200 meters, left 50 meters, fire for effect. Accuracy sufficient. The low-tech invasion succeeds. At 11 a.m., defensive adaptation starts. Commanders dust off Cold War doctrine. Map reading skills suddenly critical. Radio discipline essential. Courier networks established. Motorcycle messengers carry orders between units. Signal flags and colored smoke mark positions. Visual recognition panels deployed on vehicles. Battlefield management reverts to methods proven 50 years ago, but forgotten during technology dependence, creating knowledge gaps. Where younger officers never trained in analog warfare systems must learn rapidly under combat pressure while simultaneously directing defensive operations. Necessary defense or catastrophic overreach. At 14:22 p.m., supply lines fail. Logistics network dependent on GPS tracking of vehicles, automated route planning, real-time traffic management, and satellite coordination of airlift operations. Without satellites, supply officers navigate by road signs and maps. Delivery times triple. Convoys get lost. Fuel trucks arrive at wrong coordinates. Ammunition shipments delayed. Medical evacuation helicopters cannot locate wounded. Casualty survival rates decline. Forward units ration ammunition. The modern military starves without digital logistics. At 18:40 p.m., civilians suffer most. Commercial GPS offline. Aviation industry grounded. Airliners cannot navigate safely. Maritime shipping disrupted. Container vessels delayed departure. Banking systems destabilize. Transaction timestamps depend on GPS time signals. Power grids experience synchronization issues. Cell phone towers lose network timing. Emergency services lose dispatch coordination. Economic damage exceeds $100 billion per day globally. The military conflict creates civilian catastrophe. Combat power calculates total cost. At 22:15 p.m., first counter-space operation authorized. Remaining satellites become strategic targets. Each side hoards precious orbital assets. Ground-based radar tracks, debris field expanding in low Earth orbit. Kessler syndrome initiates, satellite debris collides with other debris, creating exponential cascade. Space becomes unusable for decades. Future satellite deployment impossible. Humanity locks itself out of orbital domain. The decision proves irreversible. Long-term strategic consequences exceed short-term tactical gains. 28 hours without satellites, artillery dominates. Traditional fire support requires only visual observation, radio communication, and ballistic calculations. Forward observers equipped with range finders and angle measurement tools provide targeting data. Battery commanders compute firing solutions manually or using mechanical calculators that function without electronic systems, vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse, cyber attack, or satellite loss. Shells impact within 50 meters of intended targets. Sufficient accuracy for area suppression against troop concentrations, vehicle columns, or fortified positions. High explosive fragmentation rounds kill effectively, regardless of precision. The battlefield becomes World War II with modern weapons. At 36 hours without satellites, armored warfare succeeds. Tanks never needed GPS to fight. Visual rangefinders work perfectly. Thermal sights function independently. Main gun accuracy depends on ballistics computers that operate autonomously. Tank columns advance in formation. Visual contact between vehicles. Radio communication within platoon. Map reading by commanders. Effective combat range, 2 miles. Engagement duration, seconds. No precision required when firing 120mm armor-piercing rounds at 1,200 meters per second toward targets 3,000 meters distant, where kinetic energy ensures penetration, regardless of hit location on enemy vehicle. Raw firepower defeats precision. How long until satellite restoration? A. 1 week. B. 6 months. C. 5 years minimum. At 42 hours without satellites, negotiations begin. Both sides recognize mutual vulnerability. Economic collapse imminent. Military effectiveness degraded but not eliminated. Civilian suffering intolerable. Diplomatic channels activate. Terms discussed. Immediate cessation of anti-satellite attacks. Joint debris cleanup operations. Shared satellite infrastructure development. And mutual security guarantees preventing future space warfare. Enforcement mechanisms debated. Trust absent. Verification impossible without satellites. The talks stall. At 46 hours without satellites, combat continues. Ground forces engage in close quarters battles where technology matters less. Infantry use iron sights. Mortars fire by map coordinates. Machine guns operate mechanically. Small arms require no satellites. Close combat proves decisive. Urban warfare intensifies room clearing, street fighting, building-to-building advances. Casualties mount. Medical evacuation delayed. Wounded die for preventable injuries. The human cost escalates while diplomats argue. Combat power witnesses regression. At 48 hours without satellites, assessment complete. Modern military reduced to 1980s capability, but 1980s training absent. Older equipment suddenly valuable. Systems designed for independent operation outperform networked systems dependent on satellite links. Low-tech forces achieve parity with high-tech opponents. Precision warfare impossible. Collateral damage acceptable again. Civilian infrastructure damaged. Economic costs catastrophic. Strategic lesson. Satellite dependence creates vulnerability, redundancy essential, analog backup systems necessary, and space warfare guarantees mutual destruction, exceeding any tactical advantage gained through anti-satellite operations. If combat power decides wars, type combat power. The constellation remains dead. Debris field expands. Orbital space unusable for minimum 5 years. Satellite manufacturing capacity insufficient to replace losses quickly. Ground-based alternatives inadequate. Fiber optic cables provide communication but not navigation or surveillance. High-altitude balloons offer limited coverage. The military accepts permanent degradation. What would you order next? Accelerate satellite reconstruction. Invest in ground-based navigation alternatives. Develop space debris cleanup technology. Establish international space warfare ban. Every choice requires decades. Every delay means continued vulnerability. Every decision affects next generation. War game simulations suggest satellite warfare guarantees lose-lose outcomes where both sides suffer permanent capability loss, economic devastation, and strategic regression. Defense analysts assess space as sanctuary requiring protection rather than battlefield requiring domination. Combat power concludes, destroying satellites easy, replacing satellites hard, fighting without satellites brutal. Raw force decides survival when technology fails. No mercy, no pause. Combat power. Subscribe to Combat Power, where technology meets reality and modern warfare remembers history. Quiz answer. C. Satellite constellation replacement requires minimum 5 years considering manufacturing capacity, launch availability, orbital deployment complexity, and debris field clearance. Can militaries function without satellites? Did anti-satellite attacks create strategic advantage or mutual destruction? When does technological dependence become fatal vulnerability? This is warfare when the future breaks and the past returns.